Hey guys, tonight we step into something older than memory itself. Not dusty castles or medieval filth, but the candlelit halls of ancient Egypt, where the god Thoth, scribe of the heavens, keeper of wisdom, and master of strange remedies, whispered secrets to his chosen scribes. Forget sleek hospitals, forget polite doctors with clipboards. In this world, healing was less about stethoscopes and more about moonlight, chanting, and substances that made your stomach churn before they cured you. So, before we dive in, maybe get comfortable, dim the lights, and imagine the smell of incense smoke so thick it clings to your hair. Because you're not walking into a clinic tonight, you're stepping into a temple where healing meant touching the divine. Congratulations, you've just entered the House of Life, the sanctuary where priests of Thoth claim to stitch body and soul together with rituals so strange they blur the line between medicine and magic. The floor is cool limestone, damp with the night air. The walls are covered in carvings that look like instructions. But no, they're more than that. Every symbol, every star, every ibis-headed figure etched into stone is alive with power. Scribes here didn't just copy texts they believed their writing breathed. A single hieroglyph carved in the right order could mend broken bones or chase away fevers. You don't understand the words, but you feel their weight, as if the walls themselves are humming with spells. A priest passes you, his linen robe brushing the floor. He smells of frankincense and something sharper, like crushed herbs. His eyes are lined with kohl, not for beauty, but for protection. He gestures for you to sit near a low brazier. Smoke curls upward, carrying resin that burns your throat and makes your head light. You're told this is purification. Your sickness is not just in the body, but in the shadow that clings to you. To be healed, you must be unbound. Across the hall, you hear chanting. Deep, rhythmic, endless. The scribes are at work, reading from scrolls in voices that sound less human and more like echoes from a cave. They believe sound itself is medicine, that each vibration reshapes the soul. Tonight, you're not a patient, you're an offering. Every ache in your body, every fever, every wound is being weighed by divine scales you cannot see. The priest lays a small figurine beside you, carved from wax. It's in your shape, fragile, easily melted. He presses a reed pen into ink, mixed with honey, ochre, and if your nose isn't lying a trace of blood, he writes your name across the figurine's chest. You are told the illness is being drawn into it, pulled from your flesh into wax and symbol. The moment the figure is cast into the fire, you will be freed. Healing here is not about pills. It's about tricking the unseen forces that gnaw at you, persuading them to leave by giving them something else to cling to. And as the flames curl around the little figure, you realize something unnerving. This isn't just ceremony. You feel lighter. The ache in your chest loosens. Whether it's faith, fumes, or Thoth's own hand, something has shifted. Welcome to the temple. You've survived your first taste of healing, and the night has only begun. The wax figure still smolders in the brazier, its thin arms collapsing into blackened curls of smoke. You should feel uneasy, but the air around you seems charged, like the moment before a storm. The scribes glance at each other, nodding, satisfied. For them, your illness is already half gone, burned into silence, carried upward to the god of writing and time. But this is only the first step. Healing in Thoth's temple isn't finished with fire. No. Now comes the scrolls. Long rolls of papyrus, inked with words so powerful. The scribes whisper them, only under moonlight. You're led to a chamber deeper in the temple, where the torches don't reach, and the only glow comes from the pale silver beam of the moon spilling through a small opening in the roof. The air is heavy with the scent of papyrus, ink, and dust. Against the walls, scrolls are stacked like sleeping snakes, tightly wound and bound with twine. A scribe with steady hands and hollow eyes selects one, cradling it as if it were alive. He does not speak to you. Instead, he kneels, unrolls the papyrus across a stone slab, and traces each line of hieroglyphs with his reed pen, as though waking them from slumber. The words are not read loudly, they are whispered. You lean closer, but the syllables slip through the air like water through fingers. Still, you feel them vibrating in your bones. Every phrase carries a rhythm, a hidden cadence that seems to pull at your breath. The scribe is not just reading, he's weaving. Each word is a thread, and your body is the cloth. As he whispers, you feel goosebumps rise across your skin. You're certain the papyrus is more than a text. It's a spell disguised as writing, a language that speaks to the unseen. Another priest joins, his voice layered over the whisper like harmony in a chant. He sprinkles powdered lapis onto the scroll, blue dust glinting like fragments of the night sky. You are told this is moon medicine minerals drawn from the earth, but blessed by the heavens. When the dust touches the ink, it shimmers faintly, as though the glyphs are drinking the light. The priests nod again, convinced the ritual is working. To them, your fever is not caused by rot or air, but by imbalance, a disharmony between the spirit and the cosmos. The scroll is not just a cure, it is a map back to alignment. Your eyes blur. Maybe it's the smoke, maybe it's the chant, maybe it's the way the moonlight seems to bend across the floor. You feel yourself slipping, not fainting exactly, but drifting. The scribes want this. In this half-sleep, your body is quiet enough for Thoth's words to settle. Healing, they believe, happens when the conscious mind is lulled into silence, when the soul is open to correction. You sway slightly, the sound of whispers echoing inside your head long after the voices stop. When you blink awake, the scroll has been rolled tight again, sealed with wax, and placed back among its kin. You don't know what was written or what was spoken. You only know that something has been taken from you and something else placed in its stead. The priests do not explain. They never explain. Healing is not for you to understand, it is for you to receive. And under the silver watch of the moon, you realize you've become part of the ritual itself. The whispers fade, but the sense of being rearranged lingers in your chest. The scribes aren't finished with you. Not yet. They believe the body isn't just flesh, it's a vessel, a pattern, a design written into the cosmos itself. And when something breaks, when sickness seeps in, the answer isn't always herbs or chants. Sometimes, the cure is geometry. You're led into a courtyard open to the sky, its sand swept smooth like parchment. The night air is cool, but the ground radiates the day's heat through your bare feet. At first it seems empty, until one of the priests stoops and draws a line with his reed staff. Another follows, marking shapes into the sand with slow, deliberate strokes. Triangles, circles, spirals, each drawn with a precision that feels rehearsed. They aren't doodling, they're restoring order. The ancients believed illness was chaos, a crack in the pattern of the universe. By recreating sacred geometry, they were convincing your body to remember the divine blueprint it had strayed from. You watch as the lines grow into something vast, a star within a circle, intersected by smaller symbols you don't recognize. It doesn't look like medicine, it looks like art. But here, art is medicine. The scribe beckons you to step into the center of the pattern. You hesitate, then obey, feeling the grit of sand shift beneath your toes. Standing there, you become the axis. The design is no longer outside of you, it surrounds you, defines you. The priest begins to chant, and each note is placed carefully at the edges of the shapes, as though the geometry itself is dictating the melody. You don't understand the words, but you feel the rhythm. Each line, each angle seems to pulse with energy. The stars overhead shimmer, as if answering the shapes below. And in that moment, you realize geometry to them wasn't abstract. It was alive. The triangle wasn't just a triangle. It was balance, strength, the trinity of life, death, and rebirth. The circle wasn't just a loop, it was eternity, the soul's endless return. By standing in the middle, you were being reminded of where you belonged, pulled back into harmony with the cosmos. The chanting intensifies. A scribe scatters crushed chalk and malachite across the shapes, coloring the sand with green and white dust. As the powders scatter, the symbols glow faintly in the moonlight. The ground feels warmer now, as if something is stirring beneath the earth. You can't help but close your eyes. The dizziness is back, but not unpleasant this time. It's as if the shapes beneath your feet are tilting the world, and you along with it. When the chanting stops, the priests erase the lines with a sweep of their hands, smudging the patterns into nothing. The geometry is gone, but the silence that follows feels cleaner, sharper, like a fever has lifted. You look down at your feet, now covered in green dust, and realize the pattern isn't gone, it's been drawn into you. To the scribes, that's enough. You've been rewritten. The priest places a hand on your shoulder, nodding as if the work is complete. But in truth, this is only another layer. The temple's healing is never one ritual, never one cure. Tonight, you've been geometry, smoke, whisper, and fire. And as you're led back into the shadows of the hall, you wonder what form healing will take next. You think the chanting and geometry might be enough. You've been burned, whispered over, and reshaped by sand. Surely the temple has finished with you. But the priests shake their heads and beckon you toward another chamber, darker and heavier with smells that make your stomach twist. Here, healing means swallowing things you wish you'd never seen. Welcome to the world of Thoth's potions. The chamber is lined with jars, some squat and wide, others tall with narrow necks, all sealed with wax or cloth. Their surfaces are smeared with fingerprints, as if they've been handled too often, too urgently. You can't tell if they hold medicine or poison, or if those words even mean different things here. The air is thick with a blend of honey, resin, crushed plants, and something sour that makes your tongue recoil just from the smell. A scribe stirs a clay bowl with a pestle carved from ivory. The mixture inside is dark, sticky, and glistens like tar. He mutters as he grinds, each word folding into the rhythm of the motion. To him, the potion isn't just plants, it's prayer. Every turn of the pestle is an invocation, every sprinkle of herb a binding charm. You lean closer and recognize fragments, dried figs, ground garlic, maybe even mint. But then you see other things, stranger things, beetle shells, powdered bone, flakes of copper. It's not food, it's transformation. The priest dips a reed spoon into the bowl and lifts it toward your lips. You hesitate. He doesn't. The paste touches your tongue before you can protest, and the taste explodes like fire and ash, bitter, metallic, cloying with honey but burning underneath. You gag, but the priest steadies you, murmuring words meant to soothe, though they don't. Swallowing feels like dragging stone down your throat. And yet, after the first wave of nausea, there's a warmth that spreads through your chest. Not comfort, not sweetness, but heat alive, insistent. The scribes believed sickness could be forced out, driven away by substances so strong the body had no choice but to surrender. Honey to coat the stomach, garlic to cleanse the blood, copper to bind the shadow, beetle shells to remind the body of rebirth. You don't know if this makes sense. You only know your hands are tingling, and your head feels both lighter and heavier at once. Another jar is opened, releasing a sharp vinegar scent that stings your eyes. This one is thinner, almost a drink. It's poured into a small alabaster cup, the liquid glinting pale under torchlight. You sip reluctantly, and the sourness claws at your mouth. It tastes like something that should never have been swallowed. But then, your breathing eases. The tightness in your chest loosens. Was it the potion? Was it suggestion? In this place, the line between the two has already blurred. The priests don't smile. They never do. Healing here is serious, severe. You are not a patient, but a vessel, a body to be filled, emptied, rewritten. They move on as if your gagging, your shock, is irrelevant. You've taken the potion. The ritual is sealed. And as the taste lingers bitter on your tongue, you realize this was only one jar among hundreds. Somewhere in the shadows, more remedies wait, stranger, darker, more dangerous. Tonight, you're not sipping medicine. You're drinking belief itself. The bitter aftertaste of the potion still clings to your tongue as the priests lead you deeper into the temple. By now, you've realized that healing here isn't measured in quick relief. It's a journey, layer upon layer, ritual upon ritual. And tonight, the next step doesn't involve fire or sand or strange powders. It involves sleep, or at least, something that looks like it. In Thoth's house, dreams themselves are medicine. You're guided into a chamber, set apart from the others. Smaller, quieter, but open to the sky. Through a narrow slit above, the crescent moon hangs like a silver blade, casting pale light across the stone floor. The air smells faintly of lotus, its sweetness mixed with smoke from braziers that never seem to go out. In the center of the room lies a low mat woven from reeds. It doesn't look comfortable. It's not meant to be. Comfort here is irrelevant. What matters is surrender. A priest gestures for you to lie down. As you settle onto the stiff mat, he places a small bowl of milk and honey at your side, the offering meant to invite dreams that heal rather than torment. Another scribe kneels at your head and begins to whisper not to you, but to Thoth himself. He asks that your mind be opened like a scroll, your illness written out, your cure written in. His words rise and fall like the tide, low and steady, weaving into your breath until you can't tell if you're awake or drifting. Your eyes close. Darkness blooms. And in that darkness, you feel shapes moving, not sights, not sounds, but impressions. A bird's wings brushing air. A serpent coiling through water. A scribe bent over a scroll that glows with its own light. The figures aren't random. To the priests, dreams are not chaos. They are messages, instructions. Every symbol carries weight. A serpent means renewal. A bird means release. A glowing scroll means knowledge restored. Your body may be weak, but in dreams, your spirit can be rewritten. You shift uneasily, half aware of your breath slowing, of the stone's chill beneath you. At some point, you realize the chanting hasn't stopped. It's inside the dream now, echoing from the walls of a place that isn't this chamber, but feels just as solid. You walk through it, guided not by logic, but by instinct, and every step is lighter than the last. The pain in your chest dulls. The heaviness in your limbs fades. For the scribes, this is the proof. Healing doesn't come only from herbs or geometry. It comes from the mind's ability to meet the divine in sleep and carry its strength back into waking. When your eyes open again, the moon has shifted, the mat is damp with dew, and the priests watch silently, waiting. They don't ask what you saw. They don't need to. Your body is their text, your breath their scripture. They read your calm as clearly as words carved in stone. To them, you've been touched by Thoth in the night. And that is cure enough. The dew still clings to your skin as the priests lift you from the reed mat. Your legs feel unsteady, but your head feels clearer, as though something invisible has been swept from your chest. They nod silently, satisfied that the dream has done its work. Yet the temple doesn't stop at sleep. Thoth's healing always comes layered, each ritual sealing the one before it. Tonight, the next ritual is sound. You're guided into a hall shaped like a long throat of stone, narrow at the entrance and widening into an echoing chamber. The walls curve upward into a dome that seems designed to catch even the faintest whisper and fold it back into itself. Here, sound is not background, it is the cure itself. For the scribes, the body vibrates with the universe. And illness means dissonance. To restore you, they must retune your flesh like an instrument. A scribe kneels before a tall harp strung with gut strings that shimmer in torchlight. Another lifts a sistrum, its metal rods clinking like rainfall when shaken. The instruments look crude compared to polished modern ones, but their effect is anything but. The harp's first note shivers the air, low and resonant, striking somewhere deep in your ribs. The sistrum follows, a higher rattle, sharp but strangely calming, like the hiss of the Nile at night. You sit in the center of the chamber while the priests circle you, playing in patterns that seem random until you feel them overlapping low hums pressing at your bones, sharp rattles brushing your skin, a rhythm that seems to sink straight into your lungs. It's not music you'd recognize. It's raw sound, deliberate noise, arranged to shake loose what doesn't belong inside you. Your head tilts back as the dome above catches the notes and throws them down again, doubled, tripled, until you feel wrapped in vibration. The chanting begins soft at first, then louder. The priests chant Thoth's many names. Jehuti, Lord of Words, Keeper of Time, He who balances. Each name is drawn out until it becomes a tone, less language than frequency. Your breath matches it, your chest rising and falling in sync with the voices. The more they chant, the more you feel your body surrendering, as if illness itself can't cling to the rhythm. The sound grows denser. You press your palms against the floor and feel it vibrating, humming like a living thing. For a moment, it's overwhelming, dizzying. But then it breaks, one long, clear note held until the walls seem to tremble. And in that silence that follows, your body feels lighter, emptied. Whatever weight pressed on your chest before seems gone, washed away in resonance. The priests step back, their faces calm, their instruments lowered. To them, the ritual is complete. Sound has swept you clean, leaving your body tuned to the harmony of the cosmos once again. You don't know if it was the harp, the chant, or the sheer force of suggestion, but you do know this. Silence feels different now. It feels sacred. And in that stillness, you realize the temple isn't done. The night is only unfolding further. The silence after the chanting feels heavy, but it doesn't last. A priest motions you toward another chamber, this one colder, its walls damp and streaked with mineral stains. A single shaft of moonlight cuts through a hole in the roof, landing on a low stone table stained darker in the center. You already know whatever happens here will not be gentle. In Thoth's temple, some cures mean giving something up. Tonight, that means blood. Bloodletting isn't new to you. You've heard of it in hushed warnings, tales of healers who cut sickness out through veins. But here, it isn't just crude medicine, it's ritual. The priests believe the moon governs not just tides, but the very flow of blood inside the body. Full moon, blood surges. Waning moon, blood withdraws. Illness, to them, is an imbalance in this tide. To correct it, they drain it with precision timed to the phase above. The table is hard under your back. You stare upward at the pale curve of the moon, its glow falling across your face. A priest ties your arm with a strip of linen, not tightly, just enough to swell the vein. His reed knife glints faintly, sharpened not on steel but on stone. You flinch as the edge touches skin, but the cut is shallow, practiced. A dark thread runs out, caught in a clay bowl marked with symbols. The scribe whispers as the blood flows, naming it not loss but offering. Each drop is weighed, not in measurement, but in meaning. You feel lightheaded, and they want this. Weakness is proof. To them, the sickness rides out with the blood, carried away like silt in the Nile. They do not take much, just enough for the gods to notice. When the bowl is removed, another priest presses a poultice of herbs and salt onto the wound. The sting makes your arm throb, but the bleeding slows. You wonder if the herbs disinfect, or if they are only symbols pressed into flesh. Either way, the ritual continues. The bowl of blood is lifted toward the moonlight. The priest raises it slowly, letting the glow spill into the liquid, making it glisten black-red like ink. He murmurs words you can't catch, then pours the blood onto the ground, tracing a circle around the altar. To them, the earth takes sickness, swallows it, transforms it. The circle closes the wound not only on your skin but in your spirit. You lie there, dizzy but strangely calm. The weakness you feel is sharp, undeniable, but so is the stillness that follows. The priests untie your arm, bandage it in linen, smeared with honey and resin, and step back. No applause, no comfort, just silence. The ritual has ended. For you, bloodletting is frightening. For them, it is rhythm, part of the body's covenant with moon and earth. Illness leaves not through medicine but through sacrifice. You rise slowly, your head light, your arm aching, but the priests nod as if the cure is working. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. In Thoth's temple, belief itself is the medicine. Your bandaged arm still throbs as the priests guide you out of the chamber of blood. The air outside feels warmer, easier, though the dizziness hasn't left. They don't pause. Healing here is relentless, each ritual stacked atop the last until your body has no choice but to surrender. Now you're led toward a storeroom that smells unlike any other. Earthy, sharp, pungent, alive. Here is where Thoth's scribes keep the herbs of the Nile. Clay jars line the walls, each stoppered with cloth, sealed with wax, or left open to let their fragrance flood the air. Bundles of dried plants hang from the rafters, some with delicate leaves still clinging, others reduced to brittle stalks that snap at the slightest touch. The priests move among them with care, selecting sprigs and roots as though each one carries its own spirit. They believed herbs weren't just remedies but living messengers, gathered under the right stars, at the right riverbank, with prayers whispered into their stems. One priest crushes leaves between his fingers and lifts them to your nose. The scent is sharp, like bitter mint, with a metallic undertone. He explains, or perhaps warns, that this herb is meant to drive fevers from the body. Another priest grinds a root that smells of earth and smoke, mixing it with honey into a paste. This one, they say, draws poison from the blood. They don't hand these to you casually. Each mixture is stirred while chanting, every word binding the plant's spirit to your healing. You're handed a cup of water steeped with lotus petals, the liquid faintly blue, glowing in the torchlight. The taste is floral, heavy, almost intoxicating. Your lips tingle, your chest loosens. Lotus is more than a flower here, it's a doorway to calm, a sedative that blurs pain and ushers dreams. You feel yourself swaying, as if the ground beneath you has softened into water. Then comes the poultice. The ground root and honey are pressed against your wound, warm and sticky, seeping into the linen bandage. The smell is strange, sweet and acrid at once. You feel the sting ease. Perhaps it's the honey, which binds and soothes. Perhaps it's the ritual, which convinces your mind the sickness is leaving. To the priests, the difference doesn't matter. Healing is both. Around you, more herbs are burned, filling the room with smoke that clings to your hair and clothes. You recognize garlic, sharp and biting, and something resinous that makes your throat tighten. They believe the smoke chases unseen spirits, sweeping disease from the corners of the room. You cough, eyes watering, but the priests only nod. To them, discomfort is proof. Medicine isn't supposed to taste sweet or smell pleasant. It's supposed to purge, to burn, to drive sickness out by force. By the time the jars are closed and the smoke thins, you feel wrung out lighter, but hollow. The priests look pleased. To them, the Nile's banks have spoken. Its herbs have answered. You are one step closer to balance, though the road is still long. And as you wipe the sweat from your brow, you realize this healing doesn't just pass through the body, it carves its way through the spirit. The herb chamber fades behind you, but its bitter scents still cling to your skin. You think you've endured enough smoke for one night. The priests, of course, disagree. To them, smoke isn't just air made thick. It's medicine, spirit, and messenger, all in one. So you're led into yet another chamber where the air is already hazy, shifting in slow waves like water under torchlight. Here, incense itself becomes the cure. The brazier at the center is wide and shallow, carved from basalt blackened by centuries of fire. Coals glow deep red at the bottom, and every so often, a priest sprinkles resin onto them. The resin catches instantly, releasing a plume that rises in curls, twisting into shapes before vanishing into the dome above. The smell hits you hard, sweet, thick, almost too heavy to breathe. Frankincense, myrrh, nephi, blends so ancient. Their recipes were written in temples older than memory. You're seated low to the ground, the smoke drifting straight into your face. Your throat tightens, your eyes water. It feels less like healing and more like drowning in perfume. Yet the priests insist you inhale, slowly, deeply, until the sweetness burns and settles heavy in your chest. They believe smoke carries prayers upward, binding body and soul to divine attention. Inhaling it doesn't just cleanse lungs, it invites gods inside. Your discomfort is proof the ritual is working. The chanting begins again, soft and rhythmic, timed to the sprinkling of new herbs onto the coals. Each plant, each resin has a different role. Cinnamon for the blood, juniper for the spirit, frankincense for purification. Together, they create a cloud, so thick the walls blur and shadows ripple like living things. You start to lose sense of where you are. Temple, dream, or somewhere between. Your head grows light. The dizziness from before returning, but deeper, almost pleasant. You see shapes flicker in the smoke, shifting forms that look like ibis wings, serpents coiling, a scribe bent over a glowing scroll. You blink, but the images remain. Are they hallucinations from the thick air, or visions meant to heal? The priests would never separate the two. For them, smoke is the veil between worlds. To sit in it is to see truth disguised as dream. A priest waves a fan of palm leaves, stirring the cloud until it swirls around you like a cloak. He murmurs words of release commands for sickness to rise from your body and vanish with the smoke. You exhale heavily, and for a moment it feels as if something truly does leave you, carried upward in the haze. The coals dim. The chamber grows quieter. The smoke thins into thin ribbons drifting toward the moonlit slit above. Your chest still burns. Your eyes sting. But there's also a strange clarity beneath the discomfort, as if your insides have been scrubbed raw and left open to light. The priests study you in silence, then nod. For them, incense has worked its cure. For you, it has left you dazed, hollow, but undeniably changed. Your eyes still sting from the incense when the priests lead you into another chamber. The air here is different, warmer, thicker, carrying not smoke this time but fragrance, heavy and sweet. Rows of alabaster jars line the walls, their lids sealed with wax. Some are small enough to fit in a palm, others tall and narrow, each filled with oil steeped in plants, resins, and spices worth more than gold. This is where healing changes form again. Tonight, your cure will be drawn across your skin. A priest selects a jar and warms it near a brazier until the contents shimmer. He dips his fingers into the oil, now golden and slick, and raises them to the torchlight. The scent reaches you first. Lotus, honey, a trace of cinnamon. It's thick, intoxicating, making your head sway before a drop even touches you. He gestures for you to sit, then places his hand firmly on your forehead, pressing the oil into your skin. The warmth spreads instantly, trickling down your temples, carrying fragrance straight into your breath. This isn't a gentle blessing. The priests press the oil into you with deliberate force, tracing lines across your arms, chest, and back. Each stroke follows a pattern, not random but mapped across veins, over joints, along the curve of your ribs. They believe illness hides in the body's passages, clinging to muscles and bone. Oil, infused with sacred plants, seeps in and loosens it, urging it out through sweat and breath. The pressure is almost painful, but the warmth that follows softens it into something else. Another priest uncorks a second jar. This one is sharper, the scent of frankincense, cut with myrrh. He rubs it into your wrists, then your ankles, sealing what they call the gates of the body. These points, they say, are where sickness escapes or enters. To close them with oil is to protect you, to keep the cure from leaking away. His hands are steady, his face expressionless, but the touch is strangely grounding, pulling you back from the dizzy haze of incense into something solid. By the time they finish, your skin glistens in the torchlight, shining like polished stone. The fragrance clings to you so strongly you can almost taste it. You feel heavy, coated, as if another layer has been added to your body. To the priests, this sheen isn't decoration, it's armor. Oil was the sweat of the gods, a gift drawn from plants and sanctified by ritual. To wear it was to shield yourself, to become less flesh and more divine. When you rise, the floor beneath your feet feels cooler, the bandage on your arm less raw. Whether it's the oils, the pressure, or the sheer weight of belief, you sense the ache inside you dulling. The priests step back, their hands slick with shine, their eyes unreadable. For them, this stage is complete. For you, it feels as if you've been sealed, embalmed not for death, but for survival. The oil still glistens on your skin, its fragrance thick enough to follow you as the priests lead you into yet another chamber. This one is nearly empty. No smoke, no jars, no instruments. Just stone walls, bare, except for faint carvings that look more like scratches than sacred symbols. Here, there is no chanting, no fire, no ritual clutter. The cure this time is silence and hunger. You're seated on a woven mat and left alone. A priest places a simple clay jug of water beside you, nothing more. The message is clear. There will be no food, no incense, no comfort. This stage isn't about adding things to the body but taking them away. The scribes believed illness wasn't always an invader, it was often the body's excess. Too much heat, too much weight, too much desire. To empty yourself was to balance yourself, and so fasting became medicine. The first hour feels bearable. You sip the water, cool and faintly mineral, letting the stillness of the room settle over you. Without chanting or instruments, the silence becomes loud. Every drip from the jug, Every shuffle of your breath echoes in your ears. You realize how much sound has filled the other chambers, and how strange it is to sit without it. Your stomach stirs, not in hunger yet, but in restless awareness. As the hours pass, the discomfort grows sharper. Hunger gnaws at your belly, but you're told to embrace it, to see it not as weakness, but as cleansing. The priests believed emptiness draws sickness out, that the body in stillness and lack begins to burn away what does not belong. Your lips dry, your hands twitch, the silence presses harder. It's not gentle, it's confrontation. You shift, trying to ignore the ache in your joints. You want to speak, to break the stillness, but no words come. Speech itself is forbidden here. In silence, the mind has nowhere to hide. Your thoughts turn jagged, looping through fears and memories. You realize this is part of the ritual too. Silence strips away distraction until only truth remains. If your spirit is restless, the body will never heal. At some point, you stop counting time. The hunger sharpens, then dulls. The silence grows so thick it feels like cloth draped across your ears. In that quiet, you begin to notice your body differently. Your breath deep, your heartbeat steady. The feverish weight you carried earlier now softened. The priests return and find you still, your eyes heavy but your chest calm. To them, this is success. You have emptied enough for Thoth to write new order into your flesh. They don't speak. They only untie the jug, remove it, and gesture for you to rise. Your legs tremble, your stomach aches, but your body feels light, as if hollowed and washed. The silence lingers even as you step out. It clings, reminding you that sometimes healing doesn't come from adding rituals but from stripping them away. You emerge from the chamber of silence feeling emptied, as if your body has been scraped hollow. The priests don't let the stillness linger. They lead you to yet another hall, smaller than the others, with walls stained black from countless fires. The air here smells sharp, dry, and faintly metallic. In the center sits a stone basin filled with coarse white salt, and beside it, another brimming with ash. Tonight's ritual isn't about smoke or oil or fasting. It's about rubbing your body raw with the earth's two simplest elements: salt to cleanse, ash to purify. The priests believed salt was the bone of the earth, pulled from seas and deserts, eternal and incorruptible. Disease, in their eyes, was corruption rot that clung to flesh and shadow. Salt banished it. Ash, on the other hand, was death transformed. Fire destroyed, but ash endured. To rub it on the skin was to remind the body of its mortality and force it to shed what was unclean. Together, salt and ash weren't just substances, they were opposites, balanced life's preservation and death's residue. Working as one, you're instructed to strip to the waist. The chamber is cold, the stone floor biting your bare feet, but the priests are unmoved. One dips his hand into the basin of salt, the crystals glittering like broken glass in the torchlight. Without hesitation, he presses them to your skin and begins to scrub. The grains bite immediately, sharp, stinging against your chest and shoulders. You gasp, but his hand moves firmly, rhythmically, as though polishing stone. The crystals tear at your skin, pulling sweat, dirt, and something deeper you can't name. Another priest follows with ash. He scoops the grey powder with both hands and smears it over the places the salt has reddened. The ash is soft, almost soothing at first, but it clings, seeping into every pore. The combination burns and cools at once, a cycle of sting and relief. To them, this isn't pain for pain's sake, it's purging. Salt pulls the sickness out, ash seals the wound left behind. Your skin tingles, raw, as though it's being rewritten by the simplest tools of nature. The chanting begins, low and steady. Each verse names salt as purifier, ash as cleanser. The words blur into rhythm, a pounding heartbeat that matches the scrape of hands across your body. Your breathing grows ragged. Sweat mixes with the powders, turning them into paste that streaks your arms and chest in grey and white patterns. You feel like you've been painted for battle. But this is no war, it's survival. When the priests finally step back, you are caked in the mixture. The salt stings every shallow cut, every open pore. But beneath the burn, there is a startling clarity. Your skin feels alive, buzzing, as if awakened from sleep. The ash clings heavy, but not unpleasantly. It smells faintly of smoke and earth, grounding, as if you've been pulled closer to the bones of the world. A priest gestures toward a basin of water. You plunge your hands in first, then your arms, washing the salt and ash away. The water clouds instantly, turning the color of storm clouds, as though the corruption has been drawn out of you and left behind. When you wipe your face, your skin is raw but refreshed, tender yet strangely strong. The priests don't explain. They never do. But their nods are enough. Salt has scraped you clean. Ash has marked you as purified. To them, your sickness has loosened one more layer. You are lighter now, though it feels as if pieces of you have been stripped away to make room for something new. And as the last traces of ash drip from your skin, you wonder how many layers can they peel back before nothing remains. The salt still tingles on your skin, the ash long since washed away, yet the sensation lingers raw, alive, almost too awake. The priests don't allow you to bask in it. They guide you into a narrower chamber, its walls carved with spirals and glyphs, so fine they seem etched by feathers rather than blades. The air hums here not with drums, not with rattles, but with the faintest threads of sound, like voices just beyond hearing. This is where the scribes practice a different kind of healing. Tonight, they will mend not your body, but your memory. The ancients believed illness often came from forgetting divine order, forgetting who you were in relation to the gods, even forgetting the rhythm of your own breath. Memory wasn't just personal, it was sacred alignment. To lose it was to fall into imbalance. To restore it meant returning to wholeness. And so, in this chamber, the cure comes not from herbs or smoke, but from whispered chants woven so close to silence they sink directly into the folds of the mind. You are seated on a low stool. The chamber is lit only by a single oil lamp, its flame trembling with every draught. Around you, 3 scribes form a circle. They lean close, each holding a thin strip of papyrus, marked with words you can't see clearly. They do not speak in unison. Instead, each takes turns, layering their voices in careful sequence. The sound is soft, almost inaudible, as if meant more for your bones than your ears. One chants of the moon, its cycles, its eternal return. Another whispers of the river, the Nile's endless flow. The third murmurs your name, bending it into shapes you didn't know it could take. Over and over, your name is stitched into the rhythm of moon and river, binding you back to the patterns you've forgotten. The effect is strange. It feels like remembering something you never learned, like being reminded of a dream you didn't know you had. The cadence builds. The whispers overlap, rising and falling, not loud but insistent. You feel your body respond, your breath slowing, your heart matching their rhythm. The words become vibrations, a pulsing current that seeps into your temples and chest. Your eyes grow heavy, but you're not slipping into sleep. It's something else, a trance that sharpens rather than dulls. Images stir in your mind, flashes of water glinting under starlight, lines of hieroglyphs glowing as if carved into the air, the ibis-headed figure of Thoth bending over scrolls, watching. You know, these aren't dreams, they are memories drawn from somewhere deeper. Memories the chants are coaxing back. Whether they belong to you, to the temple, or to some larger order doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling of recognition, the sudden certainty that you have been here before, lived this rhythm before, and are being returned to it. The chants slow, unraveling back into silence. The scribes step away, their papyrus slips rolled and tucked back into their robes. They don't explain, but they don't need to. You feel steadier, as though something in your mind has been tightened, pulled into place. The dizziness that dogged you since the potions and fasting has dulled. Your thoughts feel clearer, less like scattered sand and more like water flowing in one direction. For the priests, this is the proof of healing. To restore memory is to restore order, and order is health. You are no longer just a body patched by herbs and oils. You are a name, a rhythm, a memory written back into the scroll of the cosmos. And as you rise, you realize the most unsettling truth of all. Maybe you weren't sick to begin with. Maybe you had only forgotten who you were. The chamber of whispers leaves your mind buzzing, clearer than before, yet heavy with images that won't fade. Glyphs glowing, rivers flowing, the constant presence of Thoth's unseen gaze. The priests don't let you linger on these impressions. They guide you toward a hall lined with low stone tables, each one marked with faint grooves and ink stains that never washed away. Here, healing takes a stranger turn. Tonight, you won't be given potions or chants. Tonight, the scribes will draw health into you with reed pens. Bundles of reeds lie on a table, cut into sharp points, their tips stained with old ink. The priests handle them like surgeons, handle scalpels, precise and reverent. A bowl of ink waits nearby, darker than night, shimmering faintly as though something alive stirs beneath its surface. The smell is sharp and mineral, mixed with honey and resin. This is no ordinary ink. It is medicine, charm, and invocation all in one. You are seated on a stone bench, your skin still tender from salt and ash. A priest dips a reed pen into the ink and touches it gently to your arm. At first, it feels like nothing more than cool liquid, but then he begins to draw. Lines, loops, and shapes unfurl across your skin, each stroke steady, deliberate. These aren't decorations, they are living words, fragments of sacred text meant to stitch your body back together. Another scribe joins, marking your chest with a spiral that coils outward like the path of the sun. A third bends close to inscribe symbols onto your palms, whispering as he works. The ink seeps into your pores, staining your skin, but the scribes believe it seeps deeper into blood, into bone, into spirit. Every line is a command, every glyph a cure. To them, illness isn't just weakness in the flesh, it's miswritten code. By drawing on you, they are rewriting it. The sensation shifts as the ink dries. It tightens, pulling your skin taut, itching faintly. You want to wipe it away, but the priests stop you with a stern gesture. To smudge the symbols would be to break the spell. Instead, you must endure the itch, the faint sting, the feeling that your very body is being edited by invisible hands. The chanting begins again, but softer this time, almost like humming. Each note lands when a pen stroke lands, binding sound and symbol together. You feel your heartbeat sync with their rhythm, as though the drawn lines are pulsing with life. Your arms prickle. Your chest feels warm where the spiral sits. The symbols don't just rest on your skin, they seem to sink inward, carried by your breath, absorbed into marrow. When the last line is drawn, the scribes step back, their hands ink-stained, their faces calm. They study you like a finished manuscript, eyes scanning the words they've written across your body. One nods, satisfied. Another whispers that the illness has been overwritten, the shadow cut from your text. You are no longer broken script, you are restored verse. The ink dries fully, leaving your skin marked in black, the glyphs curling across your flesh like strange constellations. You know they'll wash away in time, but the scribes don't care about permanence. Healing doesn't need to last forever, it only needs to shift you back into balance. And for now, under the torchlight, you are their living scroll, inscribed with cures only the gods can read. The ink is still drying on your skin when the priests guide you into a smaller chamber, its air thick with the smell of rope and wax. At the center lies a coil of pale linen cord. Tonight's ritual is not about herbs or smoke, but binding. For the scribes of Thoth, knots were spells, prisons for illness, contracts between flesh and spirit. The cord is stretched across the floor, and one priest begins to tie. With each knot, the chanting grows stronger. The first closes softly, the second snaps tight, the third hums with weight. You feel the air shift, as though each knot locks a door inside you, sealing away what does not belong. By the fourth knot, your chest feels heavier. A priest brushes the cord against your arm, its rough linen scraping your skin. You swear you feel something tugging from within, threads of weakness drawn toward the rope. The fifth knot tightens, and your dizziness eases, as if part of it has been carried off. The sixth knot is pressed to your forehead. The priests whisper that it binds memory, protecting you from shadows that twist the mind. When it pulls tight, a sudden chill sweeps through you. Finally, the seventh knot is tied above a brazier, smoke coiling around it. This, they say, is the closing knot. When it snaps shut, the cord is lowered into the fire. Linen hisses, curls, and turns to ash. As the smoke rises, A subtle release spreads through you. The ache in your limbs softens. The heaviness in your chest lifts. The priests nod in silence. 7 knots bound your illness and burned it away, leaving you lighter, as though a piece of yourself has been rewritten in fire and rope. The scent of smoke from the burned cord clings to you as the priests lead you outside. Cool night air brushes your skin, but there is no rest waiting. The ground itself, they say, will be the cure. The courtyard is wide, its sand smoothed flat, waiting like a blank page. The moon hangs above, pouring pale light across the earth. A priest kneels with a reed staff and begins to draw. Circles first, wide and steady, then lines that cut, triangles balanced within, spirals curling outward. These are not idle shapes, but sacred geometry, a map of the cosmos traced into sand. You are beckoned into the first circle. The grains shift beneath your bare feet, cool and unsteady. The priests begin to chant, their voices matching the shapes. Low hums for the circle, sharp tones for the lines, rising spirals of sound to mirror the curves. The patterns seem to pulse, alive beneath you. More priests scatter powders into the grooves, green malachite, red ochre, white chalk. Under the moonlight, the designs glow faintly, transforming the courtyard into a living pattern. You feel yourself pulled into rhythm, breath and heart matching the geometry around you. Salt is sprinkled, then ash, binding the shapes together. You think of the earlier rituals, the sting of salt, the smear of ash, and now see them reflected here, woven into design instead of skin. The sand becomes a mirror of your body, every line a cure, every color a seal. At last, the priests sweep their hands across the sand, scattering the patterns back into dust. Yet the steadiness remains inside you, as though the circles have not vanished but settled into your chest. The stars above shimmer. The geometry has done its work. The sand has been swept away, but its geometry still lingers in your chest, humming faintly with each breath. You think perhaps the night is ending, that you've been scoured and sealed enough. But the priests lead you onward, back into the temple's inner halls. Here, the air smells of ink and papyrus, drier than the incense-filled chambers you've endured. This is the sanctuary of Scribes. And here, healing is not smoke or oil or knots. Here, the cure is the written word itself. The chamber is lined with shelves stacked high with scrolls, their edges frayed but guarded like treasures. Scribes sit cross-legged, their reed pens poised above papyrus, dipping into bowls of ink that shimmer faintly under torchlight. Each stroke is deliberate, as if every line carries the weight of eternity. You are brought to the center, seated on a low stone stool. The priests do not speak. They simply gesture, and the scribes begin. One unrolls a fresh sheet of papyrus, its surface pale and waiting. He dips his pen into the ink, dark, thick, mixed with honey, soot, and perhaps something more. He begins to write. Not for reading, not for decoration, but for healing. Each glyph is chosen with care, traced with precision, whispered over as the pen scratches the page. The words are not random. They are spells, instructions for your body to follow, orders written not to you but to the sickness hiding inside. Another scribe joins, writing your name again and again, bending it into shapes that curl like serpents, stretch like birds, stand firm like pillars. To them, your name is the key to your body. To rewrite it is to rewrite you. Each repetition is meant to correct, to realign, to command your shadow to obey. The papyrus fills with loops of ink until your name no longer looks like a name at all, but like a landscape of symbols, a net meant to trap what ails you. The chanting begins softly. Each time the pen touches the papyrus, a voice rises, speaking the glyph aloud as though carving it into the air as well as the page. The room fills with sound and scratch, words layered in ink and breath until the chamber itself feels alive, pulsing with script. You feel your heartbeats sync with the rhythm. It's not reading, it's being read. Your body becomes the scroll. A priest lifts the papyrus when it is full, holding it high as if presenting it to Thoth himself. He folds it carefully, places it inside a clay amulet, and seals it with wax. The amulet is tied around your neck, heavy and faintly warm. The words now rest against your chest, close to your heart. The scribes believe the ink does not die on the page it seeps. It seeps into flesh, carrying its command with every beat of blood. You don't understand what was written. You don't need to. The power lies not in comprehension but in the act itself. To them, words are not symbols but forces. To write them is to shape reality. And now, reality has been bent toward your healing. As you rise, the amulet pressing against your skin, you feel strangely steadier. Whether it's belief, ritual, or Thoth's hand guiding the scribes, you know one thing. The written word has become part of you. Your illness is no longer a weight you carry alone. It has been bound, commanded, rewritten into silence. The amulet presses warm against your chest, heavy with the weight of inked words you cannot read but somehow feel. You think that perhaps the scribes will allow you to rest, but instead they gesture toward another chamber. One lined not with jars or braziers but with shelves stacked high with scrolls. The air here is thick with papyrus dust, sharp enough to sting your nose. This is the library of dreams, where healing isn't written on skin or sealed in amulets, but read in visions. Tonight, they will consult the dream books, and your cure will be found in prophecy. You're seated on a reed mat in the center of the room, surrounded by shelves that groan under the weight of scrolls. Priests move silently, selecting them with care, their fingers brushing titles written in ink, so faded it looks like shadows. They unroll the scrolls across low tables, their surfaces covered in neat columns of hieroglyphs. These are no ordinary texts. These are dream manuals, guides for interpreting the strange, shifting world you entered when you slept beneath the crescent moon. One scribe steps forward, his eyes lined with kohl, his voice low as he begins to read. The scroll describes images: a serpent in water, a bird in flight, a man holding a glowing reed. Each image, it claims, carries meaning: serpent as rebirth, bird as freedom, reed as knowledge. You realize with a chill that these are the very images you glimpsed in your dream. The scribes nod knowingly. To them, this is proof your dream was no random wandering. It was prophecy, and prophecy always points to healing. Another scroll is brought forward, its edges crumbling as it's unrolled. This one lists ailments alongside dream symbols: fever tied to fire in visions, weakness tied to falling stones, loneliness tied to wandering rivers. The scribe runs his finger down the column until he finds what matches your dream: serpent, bird, reed. He whispers the interpretation: rebirth, release, knowledge restored. The cure, he declares, has already begun. Your dream itself carried the medicine. The rituals that followed were only to seal it. But prophecy is never so simple. A second priest insists on reading further, pointing to another passage that warns: the serpent heals, but only if its fangs are not seen. The scribes argue quietly, debating whether your vision of the serpent was gentle or venomous, whether the cure is secure or if danger still coils around you. For them, dreams are maps, but maps can be misread. Healing through prophecy is as much risk as remedy. You sit in silence, the amulet warm against your chest, as they debate your fate. At last, they agree. The dream was favorable, the images clear. Still, they caution that you must carry the memory with care. Forgetting the dream would undo its cure. They press a small clay token into your hand, carved with a serpent on one side and a bird on the other. Hold this when you sleep, they murmur. It will bind the dream to you, keep its healing alive. The scrolls are rolled, tied, and returned to their shelves. The dust settles in the silence. For the priests, prophecy has spoken. For you, it feels unsettling, your health tied not to medicine or chance, but to visions that flickered in the fragile theatre of sleep. Yet as you rise, the token warm in your palm, you feel something quiet but undeniable, a thread of faith that maybe the dream did more than haunt you. Maybe it rewrote you. The dream token rests in your palm, its edges rough but grounding, the carved serpent and bird pressing against your skin. You think perhaps the priests will let you leave with this symbol alone, but they do not. Instead, they lead you into a darker hall, one that feels heavier than all the others. The air is colder here, the silence thicker. At the far end stands a towering statue, Thoth himself, ibis-headed, carved in black stone, his eyes gleaming faintly in the torchlight. Tonight, The priests tell you, healing will not come from herbs or dreams or knots. Tonight, it will come from invocation, the direct call to the god himself. The chamber is sparse. Its only adornment the statue and a low altar piled with offerings. Bread, honey, jars of milk, and small figures carved from wax. The priests light fresh torches, their flames flickering high against the walls. They arrange you before the statue, your chest still marked faintly by ink, your skin still raw from salt and ash. The invocation requires presence, they say, and for presence, you must be stripped bare body, spirit, and shadow alike. A priest kneels and scatters powdered resin across the altar, the grains sizzling as they touch the flame. Smoke rises, curling around the ibis beak of the statue, as if feeding it breath. Another priest begins the chant, deep and slow, calling Thoth by his many names, Jehuti, Lord of the divine words, Keeper of time, Scribe of the gods. His voice carries through the hall, echoing off stone, until it feels as if the walls themselves are chanting back. You are told to kneel. The stone is cold beneath your knees, but the air around you grows warmer as the chanting layers. More priests join, their voices weaving together until the sound becomes a river, flowing upward toward the statue. The rhythm is hypnotic, pulling you with it. Your breath falls in time with the words, your chest rising and falling as though guided by invisible strings. One priest steps forward with a bowl of water drawn at dawn, still cool, still glinting faintly under the torchlight. He dips his hand in and sprinkles it across your shoulders and head. Each drop feels sharper than it should, as if it carries weight. This water, they say, has touched the light of Ra, and now it carries that light into you. The words of invocation grow louder, sharper, aimed directly at the ibis-headed god. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you almost hear wings, the faint rustle of feathers, the soft brush of air moving. When you open them, the torchlight flickers strangely, shadows bending around the statue, as if it is not stone at all but living flesh. The ibis eyes seem brighter now, reflecting more than fire. The priests bow low, voices trembling as they chant faster, stronger, until the air vibrates with sound, and then silence. Sudden, total, the kind of silence that feels full, not empty. The priests press their foreheads to the ground. You sit frozen, certain that something vast and watching has filled the chamber. Your chest is light, your limbs steady, the ache you carried almost forgotten. The invocation has ended, but its echo remains not just in the hall but in you. The priests rise slowly, their faces calm, their movements deliberate. They do not explain what happened. They do not need to. To them, Thoth has answered. To you, it feels as though something unseen brushed close enough to leave its mark. And whether you believe in the god or not, the weight in your body is lighter, as though a hand has lifted it away. The echo of the invocation still hums in your chest as the priests guide you from the statue hall into the open night. The sudden expanse of sky feels overwhelming after the stone chambers, but the priests do not pause. Tonight, they tell you, it is not smoke or words or knots that will purify you. Tonight, it is the stars themselves. The courtyard is quiet, its sand smoothed flat, its edges marked with low braziers that burn only faintly. But the true light comes from above. The sky stretches vast and endless, the constellations burning sharp in the darkness. The priests believed the stars were not distant suns but divine fires, each carrying a fragment of cosmic order. Illness, to them, was nothing more than forgetting your alignment to those fires. And so, under the stars, they would purify you, washing your body with starlight until it remembered its place. You are instructed to lie flat on your back, the sand cool against your skin. The amulet at your chest presses lightly, the inked symbols on your arms faintly visible in the moonlight. A priest raises a polished bronze mirror, its surface angled to catch the starlight and bend it toward you. Another holds a bowl of clear water, rippling faintly as the light reflects across its surface. They whisper that this is the light made drinkable. The ritual begins with silence. No chanting, no smoke. only the crackle of low fire and the endless hush of the desert night. The mirror tilts, and starlight spills across your body, shimmering faintly as it runs down your arms and chest. The water is lifted and poured gently across your skin, each drop glinting as if it carries pieces of the heavens. The sensation is cold, startling at first, but then it settles into something steadier, grounding, like being washed from the inside out. You close your eyes, and the silence sharpens. You hear the wind shift, soft as breath. The stars press closer, not literally, but in presence. You feel their weight, not crushing but steady, pulling at you as though realigning something deep inside. The dizziness from earlier rituals fades. Your breathing evens. For a moment, you are no longer body but constellation, a fragment of sky stitched back into place. The priests step back, watching, mirrors and bowls lowered. They study your face, your chest rising and falling with a calm it hasn't known since you entered the temple. No words are needed. For them, the purification is complete. The stars have washed you. The disorder has been burned away. You sit up slowly, sand clinging to your skin, water drying cool against your chest. Above you, the constellations shimmer, unchanged yet somehow nearer. Whether the ritual was true power or just reflection, it doesn't matter. You feel lighter, as though the sickness was not drained from you but lifted into the night sky, carried among the stars themselves. The night sky has settled into your bones, the cool starlight lingering on your skin. You think perhaps the rites might pause until morning, but the priests are already moving again. They speak of water, not the murky jars steeped with herbs, not the sour brews forced down your throat earlier, but something purer. They say, the truest cure comes not from mixtures or fire, but from the Nile itself, drawn at the very moment dawn begins. You are led to a small courtyard where a stone basin sits, covered by a linen cloth. A priest lifts the cover, revealing water so clear it seems to glow. This is no ordinary water. It was fetched at first light, before the sun fully rose, while the river was still cloaked in silence. To the priests, this hour is sacred. The water at dawn is believed to carry the breath of Ra, the promise of renewal, and the strength to sweep away shadows. The ritual begins with stillness. You are told to kneel beside the basin, your reflection trembling in its surface. The water ripples faintly, though no hand touches it, as if it responds to the weight of your presence. One priest dips a bronze cup, raises it carefully, and whispers words you can't catch. He tips the cup to your lips. The first taste is startlingly cold, sharp as glass, flooding your throat with a clarity unlike any potion or incense. It tastes of stone and air, of something older than temples. Another priest wets a linen cloth and wipes it across your forehead, down your arms, and along the bandaged cut left from the bloodletting. The coolness seeps into your skin, easing the heat still lingering from salt and oils. Drops trail down your chest, catching the faint glow of torches until they look like liquid stars. For a moment, you forget the weight of every other ritual. This feels simpler, almost merciful. But it is not only washing. The priests chant softly as they work, naming the waters. River of life, river of balance, river of memory. They believe the Nile is not just water, but a vein of the world itself, carrying both sickness and cure. By touching it at dawn, they say, you are bound to the river's renewal, your body made part of its eternal rhythm. The last step comes when they pour the remaining water over your hands. It splashes onto the stone, running into narrow grooves carved into the floor, channels that lead outward toward the earth. The water disappears quickly, but the priests watch closely, nodding. To them, what drained away was more than liquid. It was the remnants of illness, washed from your body and given back to the soil. You rise slowly. Drops of dawn water, still cooling your skin. The basin is empty now, its surface bare, its glow faded. The priests replace the cloth, sealing it again until the next sunrise. For them, the ritual is complete. For you, it feels like a pause in the storm, a moment of clarity drawn from the simplest of things. You have swallowed dawn itself, and it lingers in your chest like light. The taste of dawn water still lingers on your lips, cool and sharp, when the priests lead you deeper into the temple once more. The air grows heavier, though no incense burns here. The chamber you enter is bare, no scrolls, no jars, no braziers. Only silence and the faint echo of your own footsteps. At first, you wonder what healing could be done in such emptiness. Then the priests draw close, and you realize the cure this time will come, not from water or herbs, but from breath itself. They seat you on the floor, your back straight, your hands resting loosely on your knees. A single priest kneels before you. His chest rises and falls slowly, deliberately. He inhales deep, his ribs expanding like the bellows of a forge, then exhales in a low, measured stream. The sound is steady, almost like the rush of river water. Another priest joins at your side, matching the rhythm exactly. Soon a circle forms around you, each man breathing in unison, their lungs moving like a single body. The belief is simple yet strange. Air is life, and life can be shared. Illness, they say, is disrupted breath, the spirit's rhythm broken. By surrounding you with their own controlled breathing, the priests attempt to tune yours, drawing it back into harmony with the greater order. You are told not to resist, only to mirror, to let your chest rise and fall with theirs until your body forgets its own faltering rhythm. At first, it feels unnatural. Your breath catches, too shallow, too quick, but the priests do not falter. Their inhalations stretch long, their exhalations longer, filling the chamber with a soft, constant current. The sound grows hypnotic, a tide pulling at your lungs. Slowly, you surrender, your breath lengthening to match theirs. The tightness in your chest eases, your shoulders drop. The dizziness that haunted you fades into a steady calm. Then the chanting begins, not words, but tones carried on breath. Low hums vibrate in their throats, each exhale a note that reverberates through the stone walls. The chamber fills with sound and air alike, surrounding you in invisible waves. You feel it in your bones, in the hollow of your chest. Every inhale draws in not just oxygen, but the rhythm of the chant. Every exhale carries away more of the weight you didn't know you held. One priest leans close, his breath warm against your brow as he whispers a final invocation. He exhales slowly, as if giving part of himself to you. You inhale without thinking, and for a moment it feels as though his steadiness has entered your lungs. Not just air, but balance, order, life renewed. The chanting fades, the circle dissolves, the priest's breathing slows to silence. Yours, however, is different now, deeper, steadier, carrying a quiet strength. The ritual is complete. No incense, no potions, no blood, only breath shared and reshaped. You rise lighter, calmer, as though your body has remembered how to breathe for the first time in years. Your breath feels steady now, each inhale deeper than the last, as though the priests left a fragment of their own strength inside your lungs. You think perhaps this calm will carry you through the rest of the night, but again they lead you onward, this time into a chamber that gleams strangely even in the dim torchlight. Here, the walls are lined with bronze mirrors, polished so carefully they shimmer like still pools. The priests tell you this is the chamber of reflections, where sickness is revealed and expelled, not through smoke or herbs, but through the gaze of your own mirrored self. The ancients believed illness clung like a shadow, hiding in places unseen. A mirror, they said, was not just metal but a portal, one that forced spirits to face their true forms. To stare into it was to uncover what the body had forgotten or hidden. Tonight, you will face your sickness through reflection. They guide you to the center of the room, a single torch flickering behind you. The flame throws your image into the mirrors, multiplied endlessly, hundreds of versions of yourself staring back. You feel exposed, surrounded by faces that wear your skin but don't quite move as you do. The air is still, heavy with expectation. A priest steps forward with a small bowl of oil, the surface glimmering faintly. He dips his fingers, then smears the oil across your forehead, cheeks, and chin. The scent is sharp frankincense mixed with something metallic. "Now look," he whispers. "Look until the shadow reveals itself." You raise your eyes to the mirror before you. At first, you see only yourself tired, skin raw from salt, chest marked faintly by ink and oils. But as the minutes pass, the reflection shifts. The flame behind you wavers, distorting your features. Your face seems longer, your eyes darker. A trick of light, perhaps. Yet the priests murmur approval. They believe the sickness is surfacing, showing itself in the distortion. The chanting begins, soft and steady. With each verse, the reflections ripple more violently. The mirrors seem to shimmer as though stirred by unseen water. You watch your own face fracture into dozens, each one flickering with faint differences, some gaunt, some pale, some twisted in expressions you don't recognize. It is unnerving, but the priests insist. This is proof. The shadow is being drawn out. One priest lifts a polished hand mirror and holds it before your eyes. The frame is etched with hieroglyphs, glowing faintly in the torchlight. Breathe into it, he commands. You exhale, your breath fogging the surface. For a heartbeat, the reflection disappears, replaced by nothing but swirling mist. The priest nods and sets the mirror down as though something invisible has been trapped inside. The chanting rises to a final crescendo, then stops abruptly. The reflections stabilize. Your face returns, pale and shaken, but undeniably lighter. The priests bow their heads. The shadow has been faced, they declare, and in facing it, you have forced it to leave. The mirrors around you are still, silent, but you can't shake the feeling that they hold pieces of what once clung to you. You step away carefully, your reflection following, less distorted now, almost peaceful. The ritual of mirrors is complete. Whether the sickness truly departed or simply hides deeper, you cannot know. But you walk out with a strange certainty. Sometimes, the cure is not in destroying what haunts you, but in forcing it to see itself and then letting it vanish. The echoes of your many reflections still follow you as the priests guide you into a smaller chamber, its walls plain, its air rich with the smell of sweetness. The ground here is swept clean, and at the center lies a low stone table, carved with shallow bowls. Upon it are set 3 simple offerings: a loaf of coarse bread, a jar of honey, and a clay vessel of milk, still warm from the animals outside. Tonight's ritual is not about smoke or geometry, but about sacrifice. These are not gifts for you to consume. They are gifts for the gods, traded on your behalf, meant to draw sickness out through exchange. The priests believed illness was not just imbalance, but debt, something owed to unseen forces. The body weakened when its offering was forgotten, when the spirit failed to give back what the divine had already given. Bread, honey, and milk were chosen because they were the oldest of gifts, the most primal. Bread for sustenance, honey for sweetness, milk for life itself. To return them was to restore balance, to pay what was owed. One priest breaks the loaf in 2, the dry crust cracking under his hands. He places a piece before you, not to eat but to touch. You press your fingers into the rough surface, feeling crumbs cling to your skin. He whispers that your illness is now bound to this bread, that every ache and shadow you carry has been pressed into its crust. He sets it aside, then lifts the jar of honey. The golden liquid shines in the torchlight, thick and slow as it pours into a shallow bowl. He dips a reed and paints a thin line across your lips. The sweetness surprises you, clinging to your tongue. Yet this is not nourishment, it is lure. Honey, the priests say, draws spirits, and by tasting it you invite the sickness outward, tempting it into the offering. The rest of the honey is poured beside the bread, the 2 gifts mingling in scent. Finally, the vessel of milk is raised. It smells warm, earthy, alive. The priest tips it gently over your hands, the liquid coating your skin in pale rivulets. Milk, he explains, is the essence of life, the first gift of every mother, animal, or human. By offering it, you release your illness back to the source, surrendering it into purity. The milk drips onto the stone table, mixing with the breadcrumbs and honey until it forms a strange paste, thick and fragrant. The chanting begins. The priests circle the table, their voices rising in rhythm with the pouring of the last drops. Each verse is a command, telling the sickness to leave you and cling instead to the food laid before the gods. The air grows heavy with sweetness until it borders on suffocating. The scent so rich it turns your stomach, yet you feel lighter, as though something inside you is indeed seeping outward, hungry for release. At the final word, The offerings are carried to a brazier. The bread, honey, and milk hiss and sizzle, smoke rising thick and sticky. It curls upward, sweet and cloying, disappearing into the night through a hole in the roof. The priests bow low, murmuring that the debt has been paid, the offering accepted. You wipe the last trace of milk from your hands, your skin sticky, your mouth still coated with honey. For a moment, the sweetness turns bitter in your throat, but the heaviness in your chest has eased. The sacrifice has done its work. You walk from the chamber with the strange knowledge that your body is lighter, not because of what you gained, but because of what was given away. The sweetness of honey still clings to your lips when the priests guide you into a chamber that feels entirely different. The air is tense, heavy, alive with a subtle danger. Clay jars line the walls here too, but unlike those filled with herbs or oils, these are sealed tighter, their surfaces marked with painted warnings, spirals, fangs, and eyes. A faint, musky odor drifts from them, and your stomach twists as you realize what this room contains. Snakes, or, more precisely, the venom they carry. The priests believed every poison also held its cure. To them, venom was not only death but medicine, a concentrated fragment of divine power. Thoth, they said, taught that sickness could be burned away with stronger sickness, that a body forced to endure poison would rise sharper, cleaner, stronger. Tonight, they mean to test this belief on you. One priest unseals a jar. Inside, a small viper lies coiled, its body shimmering like wet bronze, its tongue flicking in the dim torchlight. The sight alone makes your pulse quicken. The priest does not flinch. He lifts the creature with careful hands, its body writhing sluggishly, and draws a thin reed knife along its fang. A single drop of venom beads at the tip, glistening in the light. This is your medicine. The venom is mixed carefully into a bowl of thick honey, its sweetness meant to mask the bitterness and slow the poison's bite. The mixture is stirred until the venom disappears, invisible but present. You are handed the bowl. The priests nod. There is no refusal. With trembling hands, you sip. The honey coats your tongue, sweet and cloying, but beneath it lies a faint burn, sharp as fire spreading down your throat. At first, nothing happens. Then, warmth blossoms in your chest, not gentle but violent. Your pulse races, your skin prickles with heat. Sweat beads across your brow. You sway, dizzy, clutching at the stone floor for balance. The priests watch calmly, murmuring chants, their eyes fixed not on your struggle but on the bowl now empty in your hands. To them, this suffering is necessary. The venom is not here to comfort, it is here to purge. Your breath grows ragged. Each exhale feels shallow, burning, as if your lungs themselves are fighting. But then, as quickly as the fire came, it shifts. The burn fades into clarity. Your chest loosens. The feverish haze you carried since the night began thins, replaced by sharpness. Colors seem brighter, your thoughts steadier, your body strangely alive. It is terrifying, and yet undeniable. The venom has not killed you, it has remade you. The priests nod in solemn approval. One takes the empty bowl, places it before the statue of Thoth, and whispers a prayer of gratitude. To them, your survival proves the ritual worked. You have been touched by poison and lived, which means you have been purged of the weaker sickness hiding inside. The viper is returned to its jar, coiled again in silence. The chamber grows still, your hands still tremble, your stomach unsettled, but your breath is deep, steady. You walk from the room changed not by herbs, not by chance, but by venom itself. And though the taste of honey still lingers, you cannot forget the fire beneath it. The truth that sometimes the cure is indistinguishable from the poison. The burn of venom still lingers in your chest, a reminder that life and death can flow from the same drop. Yet the priests do not pause. They lead you into another chamber, one dimly lit and faintly buzzing with sound. At first you think it is the hum of torches, but as your eyes adjust, you see jars lined against the walls, each filled not with herbs or oils but with dark, crawling shapes. Beetles. Their legs scrape against clay, their shells clinking like pebbles. The sight makes your skin crawl. This, they say, is the ritual of renewal. The scarab beetle was sacred to Thoth and to Egypt as a whole. a symbol of rebirth and endless transformation. Just as the beetle rolled its ball of dung endlessly across the earth, so too did the sun roll across the sky each day, dying and rising anew. The priests believed the beetle carried the secret of regeneration, that by invoking its power you could shed sickness like an old husk and step into life again. One priest lifts a jar and opens it carefully. A large black beetle clambers onto his hand, its shell gleaming in the light, its legs twitching with restless energy. He holds it before you, murmuring prayers, then places it on your chest. Instinct makes you recoil, but strong hands steady you. The beetle crawls slowly across your skin, its legs sharp but light, its weight unsettling. The priests whisper that as it moves, it carries away your sickness, scraping it from your flesh and rolling it into itself. Another priest sprinkles powdered herbs across your arms and chest, creating a path for the beetle to follow. It crawls along the trail, leaving faint scratches where its legs press down. You shiver, torn between revulsion and awe. The chanting grows louder, the voices weaving around the insect's steady movement, as though urging it to carry more of your burden away. When the beetle reaches your shoulder, the priest lifts it gently and sets it aside. Another replaces it, smaller, more restless. This one scurries quickly across your arm, over your hand, before being gathered again. One by one, more beetles are released onto you, each one part of the ritual, each believed to absorb fragments of your shadow. You feel your skin crawl long after they are gone, as though the sensation is burrowing deeper. The priests collect the beetles and place them back into their jars. Then they take the jars to the altar, sealing them with wax. To them, the insects now carry the fragments of your sickness. They will be released outside, far from the temple, to roll their burdens away into the earth, scattering what once plagued you into dust. You remain seated, your chest streaked faintly with scratches, your skin tingling. Part of you feels unclean, as if something alien has touched too close. Yet beneath that unease, there is something else, a strange clarity, a sense of lightness, as though the crawling really did scrape something from within you. The priests nod solemnly. Renewal, they say, is never comfortable. It requires crawling through what is foul, rolling what is unwanted, and starting again. As you leave the chamber, the faint hum of beetles echoes in your ears. It should sicken you, but instead it lingers like a reminder. Renewal is not always gentle. Sometimes it crawls across your skin, scratching away what you were, so that you might begin again. The sensation of beetles crawling across your skin hasn't faded, their phantom legs still prickling along your chest and arms. You long for rest, but the priests do not allow it. They lead you into yet another chamber, this one hotter than the rest, its walls blackened by soot, the air thick with the acrid scent of charred wood. The moment you step inside, you understand. This is not a place of calm chants or gentle oils. This is a place of fire. Tonight, your healing will be carved out through pain itself. The ancients believed that fire was the purest force of all. It burned away corruption, stripped rot from flesh, and left only what was strong enough to endure. To them, illness was weakness that clung too tightly, and only by facing flame could the shadow be driven off. Fire, they said, was Thoth's sharpest tool, painful, merciless, but absolute in its power. At the center of the chamber burns a brazier, its coals glowing white-hot, flames licking high, with every crack of resin tossed into it. The heat presses against your skin even at a distance, a living wall that makes you squint and sweat. A priest steps forward with a metal rod, its end shaped into a simple circle. He places it into the coals, leaving it there until it glows red. Your heart pounds as realization strikes. This ritual is no metaphor. It is literal fire. You are instructed to bare your forearm. Reluctance is useless. The priests grip you firmly, steadying you as the glowing brand is lifted. The heat radiates before it even touches, a sharp warning of what is to come. Then it presses against your skin. The pain is instant, searing, as though your very nerves have caught fire. You grit your teeth, a sound escaping despite yourself. The smell of burning flesh fills the air. The priests do not flinch. They chant louder, their voices rising over your cry. declaring that the sickness is leaving. Burned out by the god's flame, the rod is lifted away, leaving a dark circle branded into your skin. It throbs, blisters forming almost immediately, but the priests press a poultice of honey and ash onto it, sealing the wound. To them, the scar is not shame, but proof. Illness cannot survive where the fire has passed. The ritual is not finished. Smaller coals are lifted with tongs and brought close to your chest. You expect them to be pressed against you again, but instead the priests hold them inches away, letting the heat scorch your skin without touch. You inhale the smoke, cough and sway, the pain mingling with dizziness until you feel half unmoored. They whisper that this is the trial of endurance, that by withstanding fire without fleeing, you claim strength stronger than sickness. At last, the coals are returned to the brazier, the chants fading into silence. Your arm burns, your chest aches, but a strange calm spreads through the pain. The feverish heaviness that once clung to you feels distant, overshadowed by the rawness of your wound. The priests nod solemnly. The fire has chosen you to endure, and in enduring, you are cleansed. You leave the chamber unsteady, skin branded, body trembling. Yet the mark is more than injury, it is a seal, a reminder etched in flesh that sometimes healing does not soothe, sometimes it sears. And only by passing through pain can the shadow be left behind. Your arm still burns from the brand, the scent of scorched flesh clinging to you as the priests lead you down another passage. This chamber is smaller, its ceiling low, its air thick with the scent of musk and dust. At first, you notice nothing but shadows. Then your eyes adjust, and you see them bundles of bones hanging from cords, swaying faintly in the torchlight. Long bones, small bones, fragments carved into shapes, all tied neatly with strips of linen. The air feels heavy here, as if every charm hums with memory. Tonight, the priests will heal you by hanging the dead upon the living. The belief was simple but unsettling. Bones carried the essence of life long after flesh was gone. To wear them was to borrow their strength, to let their resilience seep into your body. Some bones came from animals, sacred creatures whose spirits still lingered in their remains. Others, perhaps more disturbing, were whispered to have come from humans, scribes, priests, or healers themselves, their fragments preserved as tools of power. The priests never say which ones you will bear. They guide you to a stone seat. A priest approaches carrying a bundle of charms strung along a cord. The first is a bird's claw, brittle but sharp, tied with red thread. He places it around your neck, the claw resting against your chest. For flight, he murmurs, to carry you above illness. Another charm follows a shard of bone carved into the shape of an eye. It is tied to your wrist, its hollow gaze fixed outward. For sight, another priest explains, to watch for sickness before it returns. More charms are hung one by one. A fragment of rib, smooth and pale, tied to your arm. A tooth, sharp and yellowed, dangling at your side. Each piece is chosen carefully, each bound with words whispered as knots tighten. To them, every bone hums with power. Every knot seals its energy into your flesh. Soon you feel weighed down, your body draped in fragments of the dead, their hollow strength pressing against your skin. The chanting begins. The priests circle you, their voices low, naming each charm, naming each power. The bird's claw for breath, the carved eye for memory, the rib for endurance, the tooth for protection. Their rhythm builds, the chords around you swaying until the charms clink together like wind chimes in the still air. You shiver, the sound unnerving, as if the bones themselves are speaking back. The weight grows heavier, though the charms are light. Your chest feels tight, not from sickness, but from the burden of carrying so many fragments at once. Yet beneath the discomfort lies a strange steadiness. You imagine the claw lending you wings, the rib fortifying your chest, the tooth snapping at unseen shadows. Perhaps the bones are more than relics. Perhaps they do lend their strength. When the chant ends, the priests untie the charms slowly, one by one, until only the bird's claw remains around your neck. This final piece, they say, you must keep. It will guard you even beyond the temple. The rest are gathered and placed onto the altar, their purpose finished, their energy returned. You rise, your skin marked by faint impressions where cords press too tightly. The claw rests warm against your chest, oddly comforting despite its sharpness. You feel lighter, steadier, as if pieces of the dead truly walk with you. For the first time, the thought does not frighten you. The bird's claw still hangs at your chest, its sharp curve brushing against your skin. When the priests lead you into yet another chamber, this one is darker than the rest, its air thick with a musky odor that makes your stomach turn. At the center lies a low table draped in linen, and beside it rests a carved wooden box. The priests open it carefully, and you see what waits inside. Living scarabs, their black shells gleaming, their legs twitching in the torchlight. To the priests, the scarab was more than an insect. It was rebirth itself, a creature that carried the sun across the sky, just as it rolled its ball of earth. They believed that by letting the scarab touch the body, crawl, dig, even bite, it could draw sickness out and carry it away, rolling it into nothingness. Tonight, you will endure their most unsettling practice, the scarab's journey through the flesh. You are told to lie down on the linen. The surface smells of herbs and ash, though it does little to mask the sharper scent of the beetles. A priest lifts one carefully from the box and places it on your bare chest. The insect hesitates, then begins to crawl, its legs prickling your skin. Instinctively, you want to brush it away, but firm hands hold you still. This crawling, they whisper, is the path of renewal. Another scarab is placed on your arm. It scuttles quickly, its shell clicking softly as it moves. You feel every step, sharp and deliberate, as though the creature knows where to go. The priests watch closely, murmuring that the beetle is searching for the shadow inside you, the place where illness hides. Its movement, they say, is not random, it is guided by Thoth's will. Then comes the most unsettling part. One scarab is pressed against a small cut on your arm, left from earlier rituals. You flinch as it pushes against the wound, its legs scraping, its body pressing as if trying to burrow. The pain is sharp, unbearable for a moment, then strangely numb. The priests whisper that this is the sickness leaving, being carried into the beetle's body. You want to scream, but their chanting swells, drowning your voice in rhythm. Time becomes blurred. The scarabs crawl endlessly over your arms, your chest, even your face, their tiny legs scratching across your skin. Each one feels like it leaves a mark, not visible but deep, as though something invisible has been pulled from you. The priests hum steadily, their voices weaving with the insect's movements until the entire room seems to pulse. At last, the beetles are gathered, lifted carefully from your skin and returned to the box. Your body is covered in faint scratches, your arm throbbing where the cut still bleeds slightly. Yet beneath the discomfort, you feel lighter, hollowed out. It is as if something heavy has been scraped away, rolled into the shells of those insects now sealed again in their container. The priests carry the box to the altar. They whisper that the scarabs will be released at the river's edge, left to carry your sickness into the soil, burying it where it will rot away. You rise slowly, trembling, your skin crawling long after the beetles are gone. But despite the fear, there is a clarity in your chest, as if the scarabs did more than scratch. Perhaps they truly carried a piece of your shadow away. The scratches from the scarabs still burn faintly as you are led into a chamber unlike the others. It is dim and quiet, but the air here feels wrong, thick, almost hostile, as if something unseen lingers in the shadows. The walls are marked with hieroglyphs you don't recognize, sharper and darker than the ones that sang of balance or dreams. This is not a place of blessing. This is where healing blurs into something else, where the line between cure and curse becomes indistinguishable. The priests believed words carried power, enough to shape reality. But power, if misused, twisted easily. A blessing uttered with the wrong intent could become a curse. A charm meant to protect could bind instead. And sometimes, in their desperation to heal, priests leaned too close to darkness, weaving spells that did more harm than good. You are here to witness one of those rituals, the ones whispered of but rarely admitted. A scribe steps forward with a strip of papyrus, its surface filled with harsh glyphs scratched in hurried strokes. He dips a reed pen into ink so black it shines blue, then begins to write more symbols across the stone floor at your feet. Each line feels jagged, unnatural, vibrating with tension rather than calm. You sense it in your chest. This is not the steady rhythm of healing chants, but something sharper, cutting. The chanting begins, low and harsh. The priest's voices rise in uneven tones, stumbling deliberately, breaking the flow. They speak of shadows, of names bound and broken, of illness torn from the body and trapped in chains of words. The intent is healing, but the atmosphere chills you. This doesn't feel like invoking a god's mercy. It feels like commanding something unseen, forcing it into obedience. One priest presses his hand against your chest and speaks your name in a tone that makes your skin crawl. He repeats it again, each time twisting the syllables, bending them into sounds that barely resemble you. You realize, with a shock, that they are dismantling your name, breaking it apart. To them, this is healing, tearing sickness away by unraveling your very identity. But to you, it feels as if they are cursing you, peeling away something essential. Your vision blurs. The air feels heavy, pressing against your lungs. You sway, caught between fear and exhaustion. The priests continue, their chants hammering at the air until you feel yourself shrinking beneath the weight. The sickness, they claim, is leaving. But you cannot help but wonder what else might be leaving with it. Strength, memory, pieces of who you are. Finally, one priest slams his staff against the floor. The chants stop. The symbols drawn on the stone are smeared with ash, broken apart, destroyed. The priests exhale heavily, as though relieved. They tell you the curse has been dismantled, the sickness bound and gone, but they do not meet your eyes. Even they know the danger of what they have done. You rise unsteadily, your skin cold despite the heat of torches. You feel lighter, yes, but also hollow, as though something vital has been carved away, along with the illness. Healing or curse? The difference blurs here, hidden in the smoke and shadows. You walk from the chamber with a shiver, knowing not every cure leaves you whole. Some strip too much, leaving emptiness behind. The chamber of curses leaves you shaken, your chest hollow, as if something vital has been scraped away. You expect the priests to lead you to yet another ritual of herbs or smoke, but instead, they guide you into a corridor that slopes downward, deeper into the earth. The air grows cooler, thicker, carrying the faint smell of stone and dust. At the end waits a heavy door of cedar, bound with bronze. When it creaks open, a hush falls over you, so absolute it feels alive. This is the chamber of silence, the place where words end, and initiation begins. The priests believed silence was not absence but presence. To fall into it fully was to hear the voice of the divine without sound, to feel Thoth's wisdom etched directly into the soul. Here, novices were tested. Here, initiates were stripped of the last remnants of their old selves. If you endure, they say, you are reborn as one of the scribes. If you falter, the silence swallows you. Tonight, you are made to enter. The chamber itself is simple. A circular room carved from bedrock. Its walls smooth and bare. Its ceiling low enough to make you bow. There are no torches, only the faintest glow seeping through cracks in the stone, just enough to see your outline. You are seated on the floor. The priests step back and close the door behind them. At once, the world collapses into stillness. At first, it feels peaceful. After hours of chanting, smoke, and fire, the quiet is a relief. Your breath echoes faintly in your ears, your heartbeat steady. But as the minutes stretch, the silence grows heavier. It presses against you, filling the space between thoughts. Every shuffle, every swallow becomes thunderous. You try to steady yourself, but the more you listen, the louder it becomes. Time dissolves. Without chant, without light, you lose track of moments. The silence sharpens, twisting inward, turning your own thoughts into echoes. Fears rise. What if they never return? What if this is not ritual but burial? The air feels thin, the walls closer than they should be. Yet you remember what the priest said. Silence is not emptiness. It is a doorway. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. The silence begins to change. Beneath its weight, you sense something else, patterns, rhythms, as if the void itself hums faintly. Not sound, but presence. You imagine the scrolls of Thoth, written not in ink but in quiet, carved into your bones instead of papyrus. Your mind steadies, your chest loosens. The fear fades into stillness, and in that stillness you feel it. Balance. The door creaks open. Light spills in. The priests stand waiting, their faces unreadable. You rise slowly, unsure how long you've been inside, but steadier than when you entered. They nod, satisfied. You have endured the chamber of silence. To them, this is initiation, the final stripping of self before wisdom can take root. You step back into the hall, the sounds of your own footsteps startling after such depth of quiet. For the first time, you realize silence is not absence but a force, one that still lingers inside you like ink that cannot be washed away. You have been marked, not by words or fire, but by the weight of stillness itself. The chamber of silence still lingers in your chest when the priests lead you into a narrow passage cut deep beneath the temple. The air here is cooler, carrying the damp scent of earth. At the end of the passage, a bronze gate waits, its surface etched with ibis wings and crescent moons. With a groan, it opens, and you step into what the priests whisper of only in fragments, the hidden library beneath Hermopolis. The chamber is vast, far larger than you expect, its ceiling supported by columns carved with glyphs that spiral like endless prayers. Shelves rise from the stone floor, laden with scrolls stacked so tightly they look like woven walls. Some are new, their papyrus pale and crisp. Others are ancient, crumbling at the edges, their ink fading but not forgotten. This is no ordinary archive. It is a treasury of forbidden knowledge, rituals too dangerous to speak openly, cures that blur into curses, prophecies inked in secrecy. The priests guide you down narrow aisles, their torches throwing long shadows across the shelves. They tell you each scroll is alive, each word written not to be read aloud, but to be absorbed. Healing here is not body or spirit alone, it is knowledge itself, the act of carrying what others cannot bear. A single glyph misread could unmake you, a single phrase understood could save you. You are not permitted to touch. Instead, you are shown fragments, a scroll describing herbs that cure but also kill, a prophecy of rivers turned black, a hymn that claims to call Thoth's voice into the lungs. The weight of it is overwhelming. You realize that healing, in this place, is not only ritual but memory preserved, power hidden until the world is ready or desperate enough to use it. The shadows of the hidden library cling to you as the priests lead you upward again, into a chamber lit with steady lamps. Here, the air feels different, not heavy with herbs or venom, but charged with something quieter, more ambitious. The priests speak not of balance or purification, they speak of immortality. To them, healing was never only about mending the sick, it was about bending the body closer to the eternal. Every potion, every chant, every scar and scarab was meant to bring you nearer to the state of the gods, unfading, unbroken, beyond decay. Illness was proof of mortality, and to drive it out was to rebel against death itself. One priest brings forth a small alabaster jar. Inside is a mixture of honey, oil, and ground stone, strange and bitter. You taste it reluctantly, and it burns down your throat like fire disguised as sweetness. Another presses his hand to your chest, whispering that the sickness has been tricked into thinking you are divine, that it no longer dares to remain in your body. Their chants grow louder, not pleading but commanding, as though declaring your flesh incorruptible. You feel dizzy, your skin hot, but beneath it there is a clarity sharp and unnerving. For a fleeting moment, you understand their obsession, the thought that perhaps death itself can be delayed, pushed back one ritual at a time, until the body no longer belongs to time at all. When the chanting ends, you are left trembling, both stronger and more fragile than before. Immortality feels close, but so does the edge of madness. You walk away knowing that for the scribes of Thoth, healing was never just survival. It was a rehearsal for eternity. The whispers of immortality still echo in your ears when the priests lead you down another stairway, deeper than before. The air grows colder, heavy with a dry scent like dust sealed for centuries. Torches flicker uneasily against walls carved with figures of jackals, serpents, and winged guardians. Here, they say, lies the most dangerous knowledge of all the forbidden scrolls of the dead. These are not the sacred hymns sung at funerals, not the prayers etched on tomb walls, These scrolls are different. They are texts that even priests fear to read aloud. Words meant not for the living, but for those caught between worlds. Healing here takes its strangest form. The priests believed that sickness was sometimes a visitation from the dead, a tether that bound the living body to shadows. To cure it, they did not chant to gods, they bargained with the departed. You are seated on a cold stone slab. A scribe unrolls a brittle papyrus, its glyphs sharp and jagged, inked in strokes that look almost violent. He begins to whisper. His voice is soft, yet the words seem to carry weight, pressing against your chest like invisible fingers. Another priest circles you, sprinkling ash from old funerary fires. The ash clings to your skin, leaving grey streaks across your arms and face. The chanting grows darker, guttural, like voices pulled from caverns. You feel the air shift, colder, thinner. Shadows along the walls seem to move. You close your eyes, but the sensation only deepens. Something brushing your skin, something listening. The priests do not falter. They command the sickness to return to the dead, to release its grip on your living flesh. For a moment, you cannot breathe. It feels as if your lungs are pulled outward, your very breath stolen. Then the pressure breaks. You gasp, light flooding your chest, the shadows peeling back into silence. The scroll is rolled tightly again, sealed with wax, hidden away once more. The priests bow their heads. The rite is finished. You rise unsteady, the ash still clinging to your skin, your body trembling. The sickness feels lighter. Yes, but so does your very self, as though something vital has been tugged loose. Healing here is no gentle art. It is a razor's edge, cutting bargains with the unseen. And as you step from the chamber, you wonder what exactly has been healed and what has been left behind in the dark. The chill of the forbidden scrolls clings to you as the priests lead you up from the depths. The night has stretched long, every ritual cutting and reshaping you, until you are no longer sure what remains. Yet the priests tell you one ordeal still lies ahead, the final trial, the test that determines whether the healing has held or whether the shadow still lingers. Dawn is approaching, but before its light can touch you, you must face the darkness one last time. They bring you into a wide chamber open to the sky, its floor marked with circles of ash and salt. The moon hangs low, and stars fade at the edges as the first hint of day stirs. At the center of the chamber stands a brazier, its flames low and blue. Around it, 7 priests form a circle, each holding a reed staff. You are placed within the ring, barefoot on the cold ground, the bird's claw charm still hanging against your chest. The trial begins not with chant but with silence. The priests stare, unblinking, their staves tapping the ground in rhythm. The sound is steady, heartbeat-like, meant to unsettle. Then the chanting begins low, harsh, like the curse chamber, but layered with the steadiness of the healing songs. It is both blessing and curse at once, pressing against you like opposing tides. The fire in the brazier grows, crackling, its smoke curling into shapes, faces, wings, serpents. The priests tell you to walk through it, not around, through. Your body trembles, your legs resisting, but the staffs tap louder, urging you forward. You step into the smoke. Heat sears your skin, the scent of ash and resin filling your lungs. You cough, stagger, but keep moving. On the other side, your chest feels raw, scraped clean from the inside out. The priests nod. The shadow has been tested. If it clung still, they whisper, you would not have crossed. They lower their staves, the chanting fading into silence. The trial is over. The horizon glows faintly, the sky bleeding into pale blue. You feel hollow, but also lighter, as though something heavy has finally loosened. The night's ordeals are finished. All that remains is dawn itself. The horizon blushes pale as the final trial fades. The priests guide you out into the courtyard, where the air is cool and sharp, cleansed by the first breath of morning. You have been burned, bound, marked, and unmade. Yet here you stand, your chest rising steadily, your limbs lighter than when you first entered. Every ritual has been layered upon you like inscriptions on a scroll. And now, at last, dawn reads them aloud. The sky shifts from indigo to gold. The first rays of the sun catch on the temple walls, illuminating the ibis carved above the gates. The priests bow their heads, their silence deeper than chant, their stillness more powerful than fire. For them, this moment is the true healing. Night holds shadows, but dawn restores order. What has been tested in darkness is sealed in light. A priest steps forward with a small cup of water, drawn not at dawn but in this very instant, when the sun's edge first clears the horizon. He hands it to you. You drink, and it tastes unlike the bitter herbs, unlike the venom or ash. It is simple, clean, alive. It settles in your chest as if it belongs there, as if it has always belonged there. The priests speak at last. They tell you that you have survived what few endure. You have passed through geometry, venom, beetles, curses, and silence itself, and emerged still breathing. The sickness has been driven away, or perhaps reshaped into strength. You will carry scars, yes, but they are not wounds. They are proof. As the sun rises higher, flooding the courtyard with light, you realize the truth. Healing here was never gentle, never certain. It was trial and terror, pain and faith woven together. And yet, standing now, in the warmth of morning, you feel whole, not because the sickness is gone, but because you endured every shadow it carried. The bird's claw at your chest glints faintly in the sun. The priests step back. The night is over. The story is complete. And you, once broken, now walk forward into day. So if you made it here with me, through fire, venom, dreams, and silence, don't forget to carry this journey with you. And if you want to keep stepping into more of these strange paths with me, well, you already know what to do. Hit that bell and we'll walk again, together.